There are very few things in life as delicious as fresh bread and butter. Fresh bread is difficult to make in and of itself. It's really a dedication. You have to have your starter, which takes days. The preparation of homemade bread is a day-long process. I mean, it's a labor of love. What does not take all day, what you can do in less than 5 minutes is make homemade butter. And this is really fantastic because it really gives you two things. It gives you homemade butter, which is delicious, and you can add herbs or salt and make a beautiful compound butter or a butter board. But you also get homemade buttermilk, which you can use as a marinade, you can use in dressings, you can use in sauces, and a lot of times in baking, you need buttermilk, which is what I needed it for this time because I'm making a birthday cake for myself. So instead of buying store-bought butter and store-bought buttermilk, get this one simple ingredient, heavy whipping cream, and you will be able to make fresh butter and homemade buttermilk in less than 5 minutes. It's so easy. I can do it. I know you can do it. Let's get to cooking.
So the only ingredient we're going to need for this recipe is heavy whipping cream. Go ahead and pour all of that into a high-powered food processor or a high-powered blender. You can use either of those for this recipe. If you do use a blender, make sure you turn it up to speed 2, and you're going to start to see that cream go around really quickly. The first thing you're actually going to make is whipped cream, so it's going to be nice and fluffy and actually look like ice cream in your blender. This is a totally normal part of the process, and if you do ever want to make whipped cream, this is something that you can do very easily as well. What's happening right now is that you're turning it, and that convection is actually separating the curds from the whey. You can see that right there. Those little curds start to form, and you've gone past the whipped cream stage and are now separating the curds from the whey. This process should take about 3 to 5 minutes. We do just have to be patient. You can see it's just about to go right there. The curds are separating from the whey. You can see that butter start to form. It's going to turn very quickly after that curd and whey has separated, and you're going to want to let it spin for a little while to make sure all of that buttermilk has separated it from the curd. Once you've let it go for a little while and you feel like there's good separation, you can stop your food processor or your blender, and you'll go ahead and start straining your butter. Once you feel like that is a good stopping point, you can release the top, and you're going to want to set up a bowl and a sieve or strainer, and this is how we're going to separate the buttermilk from our beautiful golden butter curds that we've just made right there. So simply take your entire container and pour it through that sieve with the bowl underneath it. Get all of those beautiful golden bits out. Obviously, make sure you take out the blending blade there, and then you're just going to want to start and push slightly your butter curds through that sieve. When I first did this recipe, I saw that a lot of people online were using cheesecloth to strain their butter from their buttermilk. I did order one and tried doing that, but I had a lot of difficulty keeping that cheesecloth from getting lint all over my butter curds. So I had adopted this to just using that sieve and really spending time pushing that butter through the sieve to make sure I was straining all of the buttermilk out I possibly could. If you see, I'm kind of pushing it into the sieve and those few droplets are releasing. So I would highly recommend you do that, and you can see I'm kind of scraping the butter that builds up as it's being pushed through the sieve onto my spoon, and then shaking out the spoon and adding it back to my mixture there. This is again just trying to make sure that we're getting all of the butter we can separated from the buttermilk. This definitely is the longest process in the butter making, but once you've done it, you can just get a beautiful dish to put your butter in. At this point, you can also decide if you'd like to mix in any herbs or if you would like to pre-salt your butter. for use. You can add salt right now. It's really nice and viscous, so you'll be able to mix things in easily. I like to keep mine usually pretty simple, and I'll just pour my buttermilk into a container so we can use it for our cake later. If it is very important that you have that strained, you can of course put it through a sieve again. And then it's time just to arrange your butter beautifully. I'm going to be making a butter board for my birthday party later, so I'm keeping this butter pretty pure because I'm going to add some flower petals and some flake salt on top of it for the butter board, but that's really chef's choice. And you've made some beautiful homemade butter and some wonderful homemade buttermilk.
Homemade bread and butter. Oh. It's perfection. Your butter will keep in the refrigerator for about a week. If you do keep it at room temperature, that's really going to be cut in half, especially depending on where you live because of that fresh cream. 0 preservatives, obviously. So I do recommend you putting it in the fridge and using it quickly because that buttermilk that's still slightly in the butter will start to sour. So keep it in a nice airtight container in the fridge and you should have up to a week of beautiful fresh butter available. But in my personal experience, it's not going to last that long. Thank you so much for dropping by the afternoon macaroon and taking a bite of the afternoon macaroon with us. I'm Coco. Until next time, bon appetit.